So, firstly, thank you so very much, Gregor, for taking your time on doing this podcast. Really appreciate you taking your time, considering the fact that we are at a different time difference, and I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and information about yourself and Parallel Office and what you're trying to build in the metaverse. Now, before we start, I just wanted to ask in terms of how has your day been so far?
Well, that's a very refreshing question. Thank you for that, George. Thank you for having me here. It's a honor to be on your podcast. My name is Gregor. I just want to introduce myself very quickly. I am the CEO of Parallel Office. Parallel Office is a metaverse company. We build VR offices for companies in the metaverse where they can collaborate, work with their colleagues, use their CV, and enjoy a truly immersive experience. Uh, that is why my day is going great. Why? Because I'm working on a technology that I'm really passionate about, and I think is going to change the way that we work and the future of work. So every day is kind of great.
Yeah, and it's so glad to know that you're working on something that you're passionate about. Because in my experience, I've found very few people who get the opportunity to work something that they are really, really passionate about. So absolutely great to know that. Now, before we talk about how you are involved in Metaverse and your journey in Metaverse, Gregor, can you tell our listeners a bit about yourself? Because I looked at your LinkedIn profile and I do think you have a phenomenal work experience. You worked with KPMG, you worked with Ernst& Young's, and I think our listeners would be very keen to know about your work experience and how you got involved in the whole metaverse, cryptocurrency, and blockchain journey.
Thank you for that question. I've been working in digital transformation for the past over a decade. Most of this time has been spent as a consultant, helping companies, helping Fortune 500 companies with strategic missions such as transforming their operations, their supply chain, their invoice processes, all utilizing innovative technologies such as robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, and in the last period, utilizing also a little bit of blockchain. Businesses are a little bit afraid of blockchain, so they are exploring it at a very slow pace. That is mainly one of the main reasons that I got out of consulting, because I was a little bit, I wanted to move even faster than kind of the consulting company. I wanted to look into the technologies that I thought that can really change the way that we work or change the way that we do and have a meaningful impact. Working as a consultant, that was, I had this opportunity, but at a slower pace. Working by myself, starting a startup, working with other startups, that's where you can really make a difference and you can accelerate and go at the speed that you decide of going.
That is absolutely brilliant. And I think our listeners should follow you on LinkedIn because I think some of your posts are kind of funny, but at the same time, very informational as well. Because I do remember one of the posts that you mentioned was about the graphic image in terms of, I think it was Amazon or it was Walmart. So, definitely really informational posts that you tend to post on LinkedIn. So I think our listeners would
I
definitely be quite intrigued.
just kind of as a side note on that, I also have a YouTube channel. I have a few YouTube channels. I don't want to do much commercials about it, but the reason why I'm telling you is that I have this RPA channel that talks about automation and how you can have this great, basically how you can learn this great superpower of being able to automate your tasks. Imagine you need to send 1,000 emails or 100 emails from an Excel file, and you need to write the name of the person inside of each email. Or maybe you have to download invoices from all of the demands and all of the days. And it's just a manual and repeating process. So in my YouTube channel, I try to show you how you can use technology to automate and free up this time. And I do it not in a kind of in a teaching way, but more in an informal way. So for example, like, why didn't Elon Musk buy Twitter? Because of the bots that I'm going to show you how to build in today's video. That's just kind of an example. Trying not maybe doing the best job, but trying to make it entertaining and open for all kinds of audiences, not just the ones that are interested in building robots.
That is absolutely excellent. So what I'll do is, the YouTube channel, I'll definitely mention in the show notes, and I'm sure our listeners will definitely learn quite a lot from it as well. So what I'll do is, in the show notes, I'll definitely go ahead and mention about your YouTube channel and quite a lot of other things. So the big question, Gregor, what I wanted to ask is, what is Parallel Office and how is it helping the metaverse industry?
I'm super excited about Parallel Office. Parallel Office is a is an international startup. We have offices around the world, and we are building a decentralized metaverse. What does that sounds a little bit confusing? So let me just break it down because there's different layers to it. If we look at the metaverse right now, 90% of metaverse companies are 2D video games that call themselves the metaverse, but all they are is just a video game from the early 2000s with the graphics that look like from the early 2000s, rebranded as a metaverse for events, for business, for offices, or so forth. But it is not, in my opinion, it is not providing the users the improvement that the metaverse should be bringing. The metaverse should be an improvement of your screen that you're currently using, of the computer that you're using, of the cell phone, of the TV. Why? Because it's replacing those devices. It's showing you those same similar kind of information, but in just a much more immersive and memorable way. So in Parallel Office, what we are trying to do is we're trying to create the most immersive experience for the work environment. So forget going to the office, forget renting an office, forget paying bills in the office, forget about Zoom fatigue or maybe the lack of interaction that can be generated with meetings, just like we're having right now, me and you. It is all about immersion, about being more productive, about being more immersed in your work. So at Parallel Office, we try to really recreate your virtual office as it is, or how you would imagine it to be, with real life avatars, with truly immersive features. There is other companies that are out there that are doing something similar, such as, for example, Horizon Workrooms or Glue. However, they all focus on the cartoonish side of your avatar and of the environment. We believe that yes, people like cartoons and don't want to always be seen as they are, but in a business context, we feel that realism and immersion is very important to convey your presentation, to convey your messages, to convey your sales pitch, and also to network with your colleagues in a as professional manner as possible. Because if we start having wings and I don't know, guns or kind of any kind of gadget that we can add on an avatar, it becomes a little bit it takes away from the aspect of work and the kind of this settings that we have.
I totally agree. And when you talk about Horizon World, I think you're referring to the Facebook or Meta's Horizon World, because they recently had a partnership with Microsoft.
Yes.
So I think what they want to do is they want to have 360 applications for business environment, right?
Yes. So now basically, if you have a Zoom, if you make a Zoom call or a Microsoft Team meeting, and you also have a Horizon Workroom, let me just, for the listeners, Horizon Workrooms is a metaverse from Facebook for business. So basically, you would buy an Oculus Quest, you would connect it to your computer or to your Facebook account, and you can use your computer, do meetings, have breakout sessions, and basically just work the whole day with the Oculus Quest on your head. You can bring your keyboard inside so you can see where you're typing. You have your mouse. It's pretty much like what we are building, but more cartoonish, and it's like your office. So they partnered with to improve the adoption of these technologies, because recently there has been some critiques about Facebook Metaverse, saying that it only has 500,000 users after they synced $15 billion into building it. That's fair. Maybe we can talk about that later. But Facebook Metaverse is in its earliest stages. So Facebook has to build a solution that is for billions of people, and not just kind of a prototype or something small. Therefore, I think all of this skepticism and all of these critiques right now are fine, but I think that all of these are sunk costs, and they're in for the long run, because it's a technology that we're seeing a lot of hesitation from users to adopt, to try, to think that it might be possible. But once they try it, nobody goes back.
Absolutely correct. And one thing which you mentioned, when you're talking about parallel office, you did also mention that, you're trying to build a decentralized metaverse. as opposed to, let's say, Facebook or Meta's extremely centralized metaverse. So I definitely think, you do have the
Well,
advantage at least. Yeah.
Uh, that's a very important point. I didn't want to put too much meat on the fire because it's two completely different technologies. VR and the
Yeah.
metaverse is completely separate than blockchain. And when you put these two things together, you just confuse people even more because you have blockchain, you have metaverse, VR. There's just so many roadblocks to user adoption with this technology that it's yeah, it's very hard for users to start using it and truly understand the value that it can bring to their business and to their life. But what we are doing in Parallel Office is a go-to-market that is focused on first building a SaaS solutions for our clients. So we build virtual offices for our clients, and after that, or at the same time, we are working on a decentralized metaverse. So with the know-how that we have created while building the offices that we have built, we're putting all of that know-how into a metaverse city where users will be able to access it in a decentralized way. We really believe that the Web3 is going to be the future of the internet. It might still be controlled by the current giants that are just rebranded as Web3, but we believe that decentralization and the Web3 are fundamental blocks of the technologies that are to come. So building it early, starting to build early, and as a pioneer, we'll definitely be able to capitalize on it later on.
Absolutely. And there are a few areas, where I think Web3 merges with Metaverse. So one question what I wanted to ask, and I haven't looked at it to be honest. So when, let's say, a business or an entity logs in to Parallel Office, do they log in with their email address or does it work on a private key and public key? Because I think that's an area where Web3 actually merges with Metaverse. How does that thing work?
Yes. So the difference between Web3 and Web2 is that all of your data is stored on the blockchain. So in Web3, all of the data is on the blockchain. In Web2, all of the data is centralized. Right now, our customers, they log in with their username and password, and they use their Office. What we are developing is you're going to be able to use your Ethereum wallet. We're building it on a Polygon, on the Polygon network. And just like previously, you're not going to see pretty much almost any difference, except that you are using you're using your wallet, and also that there is a economy inside of Parallel Office that has been created using our token. Therefore, to sustain the transactions, to sustain the marketplace, to sustain the sale of NFTs, to sustain uh, the renting fees, we are building also our token. Well, we've already built it. We haven't publicly launched it yet, but it's in a private sale right now.
Perfect. And that is just moving on to my next question because I did go through your website last week, and I was wondering, if you could share some basic level information about the white paper, because I do think that the listeners from the metaverse and cryptocurrency space would be quite keen to know about the white paper because I have researched quite a lot of metaverse projects, and to be honest, yours is the only project that did have a white paper, and it was merging very well with, let's say, Ethereum and Polygon, and that is something which you mentioned it earlier as well. So, can
Yeah.
you share some light information on the white paper that has been written?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. Also, because we really appreciate that you took a look at our white paper. Our white paper is a detailed chronicle of what the decentralized version of Parallel Office is. It explains in detail the benefits, the advantages, the rewards for the early adopters, and it goes into the details of the tokenomics. It talks about the supply of the token, what is going to be the supply, the rate at which is going to be burnt, the distribution and the vesting schedule for the token. So it really drills down into all of the detail, everything that somebody might be required or want to know before getting into the project. But it was also something that we needed to write and write a couple of times in order to be sure of what we are doing, or at least have more of a clear idea in what we're doing.
Yeah, and our listeners should definitely check out the white paper because it does give a very clear roadmap as well in terms of which stage the current project
Yes.
is and what the progress would be over time. So definitely brilliant stuff. And the next question, Gregor, that I wanted to ask is, you have built Parallel Office on Ethereum. So what was the decision making to build it, let's say, on Ethereum versus other blockchain protocol, let's say like Solana or Flow or any other blockchain protocol?
That's a great question. Actually, I'm releasing a course on Udemy about how to choose your blockchain for your next blockchain project. So
Oh,
that's that fits really well. But it was also a decision based on requirements. So every time you're picking, but this is not just for us. This is for anybody that is listening. If you're picking or choosing a blockchain for your project, you need to take into consideration basically two main considerations: speed and cost. So is your project going to require to have many different operations or many different interactions with the blockchain, such as a video game, a metaverse, or is it just going to be some NFTs that somebody is just going to maybe buy, sell, and trade, which is very little interaction. So based on this is one factor, and based on the other factor is how fast do you need your blockchain to be? Meaning, do you need it actually to compute 10,000 transactions per 1 to 2 seconds? Do you need it? Is it okay if it lags and waits a little bit? So these are also going to be considerations that are going to impact on your development and on the structure of your app. Then you have other considerations such as, are you looking, what kind of uh, census mechanism are you looking in your blockchain? Are you more interested in a proof of work, in a staking blockchain, in a mix of the two, in some new versions of the improved of the staking? What is it that you are interested in, and why is it that you want this kind of census mechanism for your blockchain? And finally, one last consideration is, uh, do you want a blockchain to be environmentally friendly, or you don't really care about that? It's kind of getting to be a big thing right now, because even though some blockchains, they don't consume that much power, it just gives the regulators a reason to kind of go after them and talk bad about them and try to shut them down. So there is a few considerations. The reason why we chose Polygon is because it also has a lot of tools that are already ready out of the box, a lot of material for development. What we are doing and what we are building, there is no tutorials for it. There is no training. You can't go onto YouTube and search how to build a metaverse and how to. So we are basically creating our own tutorials and our own know-how. And Polygon was a network. We partnered with Polygon and Polygon Studios, and they really showed great support in providing us with know-how, with documentation, with time from their developers. And that's not something that every blockchain has. We're also in the grant process and receiving a grant from them. So those are also important considerations that make us choose Polygon over other blockchains.
now it's really great that you've covered the ESG concern. And what I really liked what he said is, from a business point of view, you also tackled, or kind of in the process of tackling, the whole blockchain trilemma problem. So, the fact that you've incorporated Polygon that does tackle scalability, it tackles decentralization and security as well. And I'm not sure if you've seen the news earlier today that Polygon has also had a massive breaking news about ZK rollups. So,
No, I
that
haven't
takes care
seen
of.
it.
So that is a massive breaking news, and surprisingly, this should be the main news in the cryptocurrency industry. So that tackles the security aspect as well. So people who are concerned about
Yes.
privacy and
Yeah.
personal sovereignty, I think Polygon does tackle that as well. So from a business point of view, from a blockchain point of view, I definitely think that the decision making process of choosing Ethereum with Polygon is definitely fantastic. The next question, Gregor, what I wanted to ask is, from a metaverse point of view, what were some of the challenges that you were facing and are currently facing from a business and from a technology point of view?
Another great question. So, from a business perspective, we are facing the challenge of user resistance and user adoption. Users are not so keen on new technologies, just like always. I mean, I'm already using this. Why do I have to change? It's basically like looking back in time and seeing people talk with the dial-in telephone and be like, well, this works. Why should I be carrying around a brick in my pocket so that I can talk from the? And today we are all carrying cell phone devices. Uh, the This augmentation uh, of the things that we see through the metaverse or through augmented reality or through XR or whatever technology is going to take place is the next evolution of kind of screens. It has to happen. The users that are adopting it, as I was saying previously, the users that pioneered it and that are curious, those are going to be the ones that are going to unlock the full value and early gain a competitive advantage compared to their competitors. Why? Because they already know how to use the technology. They've already been there. They know what kind of benefits they can get, what kind of drawbacks it has, and so forth and so forth. So right now, the biggest challenge that we have is finding the right words to communicate the importance of this to business users. And from a technical aspect, the main challenge is the lack of know-how in this space, and also the over, I would say, the over presence of experts that claim to be Web 3.0 experts or Metaverse experts with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months of experience. That's perfectly fine if you're not a Metaverse expert and if you're not a Web 3.0 expert. I think people should just kind of say, yeah, I have 3 months of experience, 6 months. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Why? Because these technologies, they don't exist for a long time, so it's very hard for somebody to have built all of these skills in such a short amount of time. The main issue regarding the technology is not that there is a lack of technology, that we have a lack of VR hardware, that we have a lack of software, that we have a lack of something in the infrastructure level. There are difficulties and hurdles, and we kind of every day we find a new challenge. But the main issues are the ones that I mentioned with technology, is the lack of know-how in this field.
I 100% agree, and I'm not sure that in Dubai last week there was a massive event called as GITEX, and
Yes.
in that there was one section dedicated only to metaverse, and something which you mentioned at the start of the podcast, that just having 2D and 3D is not metaverse, and surprisingly, a lot of the projects they had no clue what metaverse is. And I was speaking to one of the startups, and I was discussing the numbers of Decentraland, and they had no idea what Decentraland was. So, you're touching base
Yeah.
quite a lot of useful
Yeah.
information. Yeah.
I completely agree. It's also being hyped a little bit, the metaverse term, mainly also because Meta started this whole thing, and one of the biggest companies in the world decides to rename their company from Facebook to Meta. That never has happened. I mean, imagine Coca-Cola rebranding to Meta Cola. I mean, it would be like something huge. So yeah, people picked up on it, wanted to kind of get into this new opportunity, think that it's cool, which it is cool. At the stage that we are, it is cool, but not for all people. It has still many roadblocks. You still have to wear these devices. They're getting cheaper, and they are also pretty cheap right now. But still, it's not still a technology for everybody yet.
Absolutely, totally agree. And one question what I wanted to ask is, how is it parallel office, let's say, different from your competitors? What is the competitive edge that you have over your competitors at this point of time?
That's I alluded to it throughout our talk. What we do different than any other metaverse company is we focus on the immersive effect. Therefore, simulating face reactions on the person that you are looking at, adding immersive sound, adding facial expression based on the tone of voice and things that you are saying,
Hmm.
eye tracking, hand tracking, all of this, and also all of this coupled with extremely strong and extremely difficult to make VR models and VR environments. So with all of this combination of things together, it makes for a truly immersive business experience that doesn't exist anywhere else with any other technology. We go a step further, and we are trying to make our technology decentralized. We know it's very hard to break into this space and to create something that has never been created before. That's why we are approaching it a little bit more cautiously, and we're not starting immediately with a decentralized version. Why? Because the decentralized version, as I said previously, would have too many roadblocks. You need a VR, you need to go to visit a virtual office, and then you need a wallet, and you need cryptocurrency, and you have a token. It's just too much for you to be able to absorb. we see that if we want to rebuild the wall of kind of working from the office, we can't just smash the whole wall, have all of the bricks fall on the ground. We have to take one brick at a time, and that's what we're trying to do in Parallel Office.
That is absolutely brilliant. So, am I right in saying that we are probably starting in a centralization model and gradually move towards a decentralized or distributed model? Am I right in saying
Yeah,
that, or have I got it wrong?
absolutely. That is you've said it perfectly clearly. The reason also is because we want to perfect our product, we want to perfect our sales cycle, we want to sell our technology to a couple of clients and see that, all right, this is working, it's good, all right, we can find more clients. Well, if all of this lines up and checks up, we have a business case to create the centralized version of what we are doing. Creating a centralized version of what we are doing could have risk to be a useless effort. Why? Because it would go about creating all of this infrastructure and network, and it's very complex with VR and blockchain and so forth, and then nobody's using it.
Absolutely correct. And one of the problems I think with the metaverse is user adoption. And this
Yes,
is something,
exactly. Exactly.
which, yeah,
Yeah.
if you looked at, the report with Decentraland as well, there was a bit of debate in terms of, how many active users that you have. So I do
44
think,
active users or something like that. I think at one point in time somebody made a report and it was like the double digits number of users for a metaverse platform that costed a few billion. So
yeah,
it is also true that it's very limiting, the metaverse right now, especially these open metaverses like the decentralized, meaning that they serve kind of no purpose, meaning they haven't been really built for something except like you go there and you wander around and maybe you do quests and maybe you join an event and you wander more around, and it's just kind of about wandering around. So you log in once, you see, oh, that's pretty cool. You maybe log in another time, but then there is no reason for you to go back. You're not going there to work. You're not going there to watch a movie. You're not going there for a specific reason to chat with a friend, to play ping pong, to do whatever other things that you do in a VR environment. So, I mean, it's not surprising that user adoption is bad. I consider decentralized to be an amazing experiment. A decentralized metaverse with a governance system, with a DAO where you can vote with your mana, you can vote on the different projects that they have, but the quality of the graphics, the immersion, and the business cases are just not there. But it was absolutely essential to create the basis for everybody else to develop upon.
I totally agree. And when you talked about, Decentraland, one of its competitor, that is Sandbox, I tried to look at their daily active users, and that was only 13. But they have refuted the claims in terms of they're looking at the volumes of people buying and trading NFTs. So there's a lot of drama still going on so far as the decentralized or distributed metaverse is concerned. Yeah.
I mean, it's great. Even the sandbox. I mean, it's a great example. But again, it looks really bad in terms of graphics. Why would anybody that is not maybe a child who not even children anymore, but the quality is just not there, and there is also no value that you get from using those platforms. In the end, it has to be about value. You have to get something out of going to the metaverse, otherwise it's just a one-time thing.
This is where I think, Parallel Office may have a competitive advantage because what you're trying to build is an immersive experience.
Yeah,
And what I think that, when you talk about metaverse, the experience from the real world or from the existing systems needs to be at least 10x better. Otherwise, people will
agreed.
always switch
Yes.
back to going back to using this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. You said it perfectly well. It has to be better, if not 10 times better, to have a significant reason why somebody should use it and not be like, you know what, I'll just use a video call, whatever. It's just too much hassle to put the thing on or whatever to go into that metaverse world. So it has to be 10 times better. And the way that it can be 10 times better, if uh, in our opinion, if you're fully immersed in an interactive space where you completely kind of forget where you are, and when you take off your device and you see where you are, no matter where you are, you're like, all right, let me go back and kind of spend a little bit more time. Yeah.
Absolutely agree. And what I wanted to ask next is, Gregor, from a business point of view, what are your business ambitions, and where do you see parallel office, let's say 5 years to 10 years from now?
So right now we focused a lot in the European market. We are doing right now a fundraise in the United States, and we've set up also a sales office in the United States. Looking at user adoption and looking at our competitors and other companies in the market, for us, it makes sense, especially in a decentralized way, if we want to continue pursuing the aspect of decentralized, to move to the Asian market. The Asian market is much more open to Web3 technologies. Europe and the United States are right now in the period of cracking down on pretty much anything that says Web 3.0. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's Web 3, and it's going to be either fined or shut down or uh, weirdly accused of different things. But that's another topic. So right now we are focused on selling our SaaS solutions primarily in the United States and in Europe, mainly because our investors and our network is there. But we're strongly looking into opening an office in Singapore and Dubai to be closer to the Web 3.0 community, especially because to transform that, we want to transform it into a proper project. To do that, we are going to need resources. We're going to need also other teams and other companies that will help us in making it into reality.
Absolutely, yeah. Dubai has this vision. So far as Web3 is concerned, it wants to be the number one city in the world so far as Web3 is concerned. And in Metaverse, it wants to be the top 10 city so far as Metaverse is concerned. And I'm not sure if you heard that Dubai is also planning to change gross domestic product to gross Metaverse product. So that is something which is probably for the first city in the world. It is a bit too ambitious. But if any city is planning to do that, I do think, Dubai has the potential to do that.
I've been on a conference a month ago in Dubai, Meta Week, where I had the chance of being part of a panel, and the amount of people that are involved in the metaverse and Web 3.0 is like nowhere else that I've seen. Just the concentration of companies and people and interest and government support, and everything seems set up so that it supports the development of these companies. It provides them with help, provides them with network, it provides them with regulators come and help you and tell you how you should work. And it's just a really great environment for startups. Other countries, they tend to tax you, they tend to shut you down, they tend to send you season this kind of yeah, they it's different. Let's say it's very different, and it can be a battle to try to create a Web 3.0 company that is, if you're in the wrong environment.
Absolutely, totally agree. And I do have a podcast, Monday to Thursday is talking just about cryptocurrencies. And I often take the example of India. India always has a love-hate relationship so far as cryptocurrencies is concerned, and they're having a hefty tax of 30%. So a lot of the startups from India have also moved to Dubai. And the next question, Gregor, what I wanted to ask is, on your website, I also saw that you offer free metaverse consultation, which I think is brilliant. So can you tell our listeners, especially businesses who want to get into metaverse and who do want to tie up or merge with parallel office, what is it that they can expect at the free consultation that you offer?
So we help you. We want to help you understand, gain a grasp of how the metaverse can add value for your business, and we can do this in a simple 30 to 40 minutes conversation where we talk about your business and what the benefits could be for your business for working in the metaverse. We try to meet directly in the metaverse. So once people organize a meeting, we meet them with our avatar inside the metaverse. So they connect as you are seeing me, but you see me as a avatar inside of my virtual office, moving around, moving my hands, writing on a board, and doing different things. During this time, we try to offer a free consultation and have clients understand what it will feel like working in the metaverse. What kind of different use cases can they have for the metaverse? It's not just about working in the metaverse. Maybe they can organize a sales demo or a sales pitch in the metaverse. Maybe they can organize a training for certain things for their own employees and staff. Maybe they can organize onboarding. So During this call, we try to figure out what makes the most sense for a certain company to get their beak wet inside of the metaverse domain or realm.
And this is where I do believe that your work experience with KPMG and Ernst and Young, the part of getting a lot of information and what the customer needs definitely kicks in. So I think our listeners, especially businesses who are trying to get into the metaverse, should definitely contact you. Now, thank you so much, Greg. Thank you so much, Greg, so far as information regarding parallel office is concerned. The next few questions, what I wanted to ask is about the Metaverse Standards Forum. Now, we also got introduced via the Metaverse Standards Forum. So I wanted to find out more information in terms of how did you get introduced to Metaverse Standards Forum, and how have you been benefited by Metaverse Standards Forum, and vice versa? How have they been benefited by Parallel Office?
Yes, this is a very interesting question, because when we started this journey, we were a little bit lost. Why? Because there is no standards, there is no rules. It's everybody is writing their own standards. There is no also rules on many different things when you are building. So right now, if you're building a web page and you're going to be using different technologies, all of these technologies, they're going to be governed by certain standards. These standards, they guarantee for security, they guarantee for cross compatibility, they guarantee for privacy and security, and so on and so on. There is nothing of that in the metaverse. It's basically right now is the wild west of development. You pick the tool that you like the most, Unity, Unreal Engine, whichever one you fancy the most, and you start building your things. Uh, Without consideration for, is this asset going to work if I maybe move it to another universe? How about if I create, I don't know, a hat for my metaverse? Can I take this hat into another metaverse from somebody else? So this is kind of one of the big things in the metaverse space. Why? Because there's not going to be one metaverse. Probably there is going to be many different metaverses, many for different purposes, and also many for the same purpose, but just with different versions, one for business, one for gaming, one for racing, one for education, one for learning, and so on and so on. So why shouldn't I be able to go with my avatar from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next? How am I going to be protected from one metaverse taking my information, reselling it, another metaverse maybe turning on all of the cameras on my device and just recording everything that it sees? How can I stay protected? What are some of the maybe ground rules that I should follow when developing the metaverse? How should buildings like? How should people flow? So all of this information that I've just been mentioned right now, before the Metaverse Standards Forum, were all decided internally within the project. So it is based on the best guess of the developers and the leadership of that project to decide what kind of rules, regulations, privacy, and so forth, and also what kind of impacts different things that you show people can have, because this is it's a much more immersive experience than 2D. Therefore, uh, different things that you see inside of the metaverse can impact you differently. And the Metaverse Standards Forum serves exactly this purpose. It's a community of breakthrough technologies, breakthrough companies, and also some really big names in the industry that meet on a regular basis and discuss different topics. So we have different topics for discussions, including security, privacy, interchangeability of different assets, and so forth. So the way that the forum is set up, it has different groups, everybody that is interested in certain groups. So our developers, they're following, for example, the interchangeability of different assets. So how are we going to build rooms, assets, light, all of these different things, so that we can package them in such a way in which file format, is this the right file format, is this the right file format, and so forth. And they're working on defining these standards. Some standards have already been defined, others is a conversation that is ongoing, but it's happening right now with the Metaverse Standards Forum. So that's where the future of the metaverse is going to be regulated and defined with those. But they're not doing it as kind of just them. They've collected all of these companies in the space that are building these kind of projects, and they put them together. They try to organize us together to have meetings. Each one of us is responsible for different topics, one topic or another topic, and we all tend to follow that topic or related topics and discuss and draw conclusions from the different meetings that we have. It's all very well organized, in my opinion. I think it's the only maybe comment that I might have is that it should move faster. Why? Because the technology is moving fast. All of these companies are moving fast. But I understand that once you have so many people that are involved in defining standards and rules, this is not something that should move really fast. It should be checked a couple of times before being able to make decisions. But otherwise, I think it's a great organization, and thank God that we have the Metaverse Standards Forum to give us direction in which way we should build the metaverse.
I totally agree, and I think businesses and startups, especially in Dubai and other parts of the world, definitely need to revisit this part of the section. And they definitely need to be part of the Metaverse Standards Forum because the membership is free as well. And I only see benefits, it's a learning experience. And as an industry, we definitely move forward. Now, one question which I wanted to ask is from your point of view, what is the recommendation that you have for fellow business partners or someone who's just getting into the metaverse? What is the recommendation you'd like to give them?
That's a good question, especially because it depends on what kind of how you're getting into the metaverse. Are you getting into the metaverse to work from the metaverse for personal reasons, or because you want to make money in the metaverse? So it really depends. If you're trying to make money in the metaverse, there's different ways that you can go about doing it. You can become a creator. You can set up your own kind of metaverse shop and create virtual experiences for other people. You can create content. There is a huge lack of content right now around the metaverse. The only content that is there is more or less the same content. What is the metaverse? Marketing in the metaverse, and that's pretty much it. Something about NFTs, but there is really nobody that's going more into detail about all the different things that the metaverse has to offer. So I think that's one aspect. If you are trying to get into the metaverse as a business, it's important to have a partner, somebody that has gone through the learning experience before and can help you speed up your adoption. So that's for somebody that is trying to get into the metaverse, and for somebody that's trying to build the metaverse, I think the best advice I could have is to be in a place that is metaverse friendly, such as, like you mentioned it, like Dubai or Singapore, or another place that I'm not aware of, where you have a whole ecosystem that is built on helping you build your product.
100% agree on that. And one question which I tend to ask, most of the people who are trying to build on the metaverse, Greg, do you think the metaverse industry, maybe a couple of decades from now, will be bigger than the real world economy? What are your thoughts on that?
But that's an interesting thought. I was going to say scary, but not really scary. I mean, if we look at kind of how technology has evolved and how right now we're all plugged into the computer or onto our monitor, and previously we're all plugged into the TV, and before that, it's always something that takes that distracts us, or maybe helps us improve communication, or just relations with other people. I definitely think that the metaverse is going to be a fundamental part of everybody's day, but not in the 20, 30 years to come, but probably in less than a decade. Why? Because technology is getting adopted much faster than previously. Previously, to adopt the cell phone, it took like 10 years or 5 years, or it took a really long time. And technologies before that also took a really long time. But as we are moving forward, we are made so that we can adopt technologies faster and faster and faster. Why? With all the things that are changing constantly, with all of the new technology that is coming up, we are getting trained to be able to adapt and to accept new things faster. Therefore, I think that the new generation, is just like the current Y next generation that have been born with Google, they give it for granted, and they give for granted all of these amazing technologies that maybe I didn't have when I was growing up. The same way my children are going to give for granted the metaverse, in my opinion, meaning that once they're 18 or 15 or 16 or 17, they're going to consider metaverse as just kind of like TV, something that's every day. every day, and where they use on an everyday basis to game, to meet with their friends, and so on and so on.
100% agree on that. And before we move to the final few questions, what I wanted to ask is, do you have anything else that you'd like to share about Parallel Office and regarding Metaverse? Do you have anything else, any upcoming events that you'd be attending or any other channels? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We have a few events at Parallel Office that are coming up that are localized to Europe, especially in Italy. Most of the information is available on our website, but we are also right now we're helping companies adopt VR by providing hardware gear as well. So we have realized that our that clients are having a hard time figuring out which hardware gear, at what price, from which company, how to set it up, and so forth. So to help with the onboarding of these companies, we've included in our package and in what we offer, we included the renting fees for different VR devices. We think this is great because it allows companies to enter into this space at a very reduced cost. Instead of purchasing VR devices and spending quite a lot of money on something that you're not sure that you're going to use, you would take a subscription fee that is very, very, very small, and that can actually allow you to operate and for a much longer period of time. But also it gives you the flexibility to say after 1 month, you know what, this is fun, this is great, I did some ping pong, I did some fishing, but it's not right for my business. So here you go, here's your VR headset and all of your stuff we don't really need anymore. So we started doing this right now, and it's going great. I think it was what was maybe missing in the adoption of the metaverse. So all of the companies right now, they are just providing you that are in the metaverse space. They're all providing you just with the metaverse experience, but they forget to include hardware in there, meaning that, all right, you have a great metaverse experience, but how am I going to use it? What should I buy? The Pico? Should I buy the Quest 2, the Pro? What kind of device? Maybe then you buy one device and you're not sure, is it going to work? How well is it going? Maybe if I bought the other device, well, you kind of forget about all of that. With us, you get one kind of package and at very, very, very good price as well.
That is definitely, and I think it's moves such as this and strategic decisions such as this that would definitely help businesses to go ahead and take the leap forward. So I definitely think that is a brilliant move. Now I just have two questions, and the next question has nothing to do with metaverse, nothing to do with blockchain or cryptocurrencies, and this is to do with what genre of music does Greg like?
That's okay. All right. Greg likes TikTok mashup songs from 2022.
Oh, okay, that is the TikTok versions.
It's basically the TikTok versions, the short versions of the different songs that are all mashed up into like a 1 hour album. It's some might consider the most horrible kind of noise that you might listen to. I might agree, but when I listen to music, I tend to focus on other things, and I like to be pumped up once doing things, because usually when I'm listening to music, I'm either coding or doing something that involves a lot of focus. So when I hear this music, I can actually kind of disconnect and feel pumped up and energetic about the task that I'm doing.
That is absolutely brilliant. And music works absolutely fantastic for different people. It's definitely great to know that you're merging it with work as well. And the final question, Gregor, what I wanted to ask is, how can listeners get in touch with you or with Parallel Office? What are the modes of channel or the preferred mode of channel you would want them to get in contact with you?
So for Parallel Office, we have a amazing Linktree account where you would visit. Well, obviously, you can find all of the information from paralleloffice.io, but you can also visit our Linktree, and I'll share the link with you, where you can find a lot of information about Parallel Office, such as video presentations, the team, a pitch deck, some of our projections, different projects that we worked on, use cases, and so forth. All of our social platforms, all in one place. The best way of getting in touch with us in Parallel Office is through the contact form by sending us an email. We regularly monitor those, and we answer right away when somebody signs up or sends us a contact information. While for me, the best way to reach out for me is also on my Linktree or for my LinkedIn account, where I also check and monitor regularly, and where I'm pretty active, as you can see from my posts.
That's absolutely brilliant. So what I'll do is in the show notes below, I'll mention all of your details. I'll mention your LinkedIn profile. I'll mention the website and all the social media channels as well. Thank you so very much, Gregor, for doing this. Really appreciate, you doing this, considering the fact that, this is a Tuesday and it is a rather busy working day. So really, really appreciate, you taking the time for doing this session. Thank you so very much for that.
Thank you, George, and thank you for everybody that has been listening to us. It's been a pleasure to talk about Parallel Office and myself for the past hour almost. So thank you also for taking the time, and everybody for listening, and I hope to hear many questions and a lot of interest about the metaverse. If anybody is interested, I'm open to answering any questions. I would love that.